today's video is another episode of Cooking with Comics. This would be the third in the series. But you may notice I'm not in my kitchen, and there's a very good, perfectly reasonable explanation for that. And if you'd like to see why, you'll have to stick around. Hello to all my friends out there on YouTube land. It is your good buddy Philtastic Phil here. I'd like to welcome you back to my channel. So just as I said in the introduction to this video, I do have the third installment of Cooking with Comics for you, but I'm not in my kitchen. Reason being is that I actually cooked already. I made it already. I couldn't do a step-by-step video like I typically do in these cooking videos. By the way, if you haven't seen these cooking videos I'm talking about, or you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to go ahead and put links in the description so you could go back and take a look. I can tell you that the most recent episode of Cooking with Comics I did prior to this, that would be the second episode, was such a big hit. I've made that dish several times since then. It has become a popular dish amongst my household, mainly my wife, of course. That's why I make it. But this episode, I'm doing something a little bit differently. I recently came across this book, and I showed this off on my live feed. If you haven't seen that, I do a live feed every weekend, usually Saturday mornings at about 11 o'clock. I have done it Sundays recently, but Saturdays usually our go-to day. And I bought this book off of secondsale.com. It's a good source for used books or discounted books, called Marvel Eat the Universe. I bought this for two reasons. Number one, big Marvel fan. As you may know if you haven't seen this channel before, if you've seen this channel before, I should say. And the second reason is that these recipes are all by Food Network star Justin Warner. Justin Warner, I've seen him a few times on Guy's Grocery Games and some of Guy Fieri's other shows, but I know him as a friend of Carl Ruiz. Again, if you've watched this channel before, then you know I was a big fan of Carl Ruiz, Chef Ruiz, hence the Ruizing hat I wear every single episode. And I've done a couple of videos about Carl in his honor. I'll go ahead and I'll put a link in the description. He actually just recently had a street named after him in his hometown of Passaic, New Jersey. I didn't go to the ceremony. Again, if you've watched this channel, then you know that I'm really not going anywhere, especially with a 2-month-old. If I didn't go see Doctor Strange, I wasn't going to go to the street dedication. So anyway, I was going through this recipe book, and to be honest with you, as far as recipes go, these are a little daunting. I mean, it's a mix of some things I would never touch to some things that just don't look too appetizing to me. But one thing that did jump out was, and I'll show it to you right here, Deadpool's Chimichangas. I probably butchered that. I'm not Spanish. So I just told everybody I was making chimichangas because I know that that's the right thing to say, and I know that from Deadpool. So what these looking at this recipe, it seemed easy enough, but what these essentially were miniature chicken chimichangas. And I know I could do it, and there was, of course, some swaps I wanted to make just to make it a little bit healthier. But at the same time, whenever I do a recipe, there's always a piece of me that's like, gee, you really should follow the recipe to a T. I recently spoke to a chef friend, by the way, recently, who said, no, that recipe is just like a guideline. Then you add whatever you want to do to it. So I guess by not following directions, I did it the right way. Ultimately, I decided what I was going to do by thinking to myself, what would Deadpool do that doesn't result in anybody being maimed, shot, exploded, or whatnot? And pretty much it was, he would do what he wants to do. So I took the recipe under advisement. I made a little bit of a left turn. You'll see what I mean here. Now I should warn you, as I said, I've done this already. I usually like to do these live, but part of the reason I had to film it in advance was that I didn't have anybody backing me up as I usually do with my cooking videos. In the past, my wife would hold the camera, or she would kind of just help me orchestrate around the room, tell me what works, what doesn't work. This time, she had a phone call to make to Bye Bye Baby and I think Amazon over an order that was just royally screwed up. More on that in a bit. And I had my little boy, MT, I was watching while she was on the phone. Luckily, well, you'll see, but luckily he calmed down just in time for me to prep the food and really get everything done. Now, what I did do, just to kind of show you this, I kind of made it like a little bit of a story. If you're familiar with the TV show from back in the day, I think it was it wasn't Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah, Unsolved Mysteries, where they kind of do a recap or a reenactment of a crime or a mystery, and they use actors and whatnot. My wife is a little shy; she doesn't want to be on camera yet, and my son is almost 3 months. We don't want to have him on camera, so basically, I hired myself as their stand-in when needed. I know that might sound a little bit confusing, and I probably just over-explained it, but stick around and you'll see what I mean. Now, on to the recipe. Now, the first thing that you need for this recipe is the shredded chicken. The book recommends using a rotisserie chicken, like something you get at Costco. We don't buy those. If you look at them, there's a lot of nasty, nasty stuff in those. There's 100 videos you can find on YouTube and on the internet that explain that. So the first thing I did was I prepared my own shredded chicken. I'll show you how I did that here. Okay, so you put your chicken in this large pot. I guess if you have like a Dutch oven or something, you could do that. But this is what I have, and I just put a little bit of salt and pepper on it. Just sprinkle it right on there. Next, I took a little bit of dried thyme. If you have fresh one, you can use that, but this is what I have, and I just sprinkled that on there too. Try to sprinkle it a lot. Watched a video from Gordon Ramsay recently on how to dice an onion, and while I really didn't learn how to do that, I did learn that little brown part, the core, if you don't cut that spot, if you save that for last, you won't tear up. And look, even though I didn't shred up or dice up the onions well, I can tell you I didn't cry doing so. I'll put a link in the description of this video so you can check that out. Maybe you have better luck than me. I just have to practice a little bit more. So next you throw your onions in there with a little bit of garlic, and then you pour water over everything. You want it so you have about an inch of water above the chicken. Throw your lid on top of it, and you're going to let that simmer for about 20-25 minutes, just until it's nice and tender. Remember, don't touch that lid. It might be tempting to do so, but you don't want to mess it up. For a while our chicken cooks, we're going to go ahead and start our beans. So I just diced up about a quarter of an onion with some tomato, and I threw some extra virgin olive oil in there. And just a word to the wise, when you're cutting up your tomatoes, just avoid this part. That's the butthole of the tomato. You don't want that in your beans at all. If you are using canned black beans like I am, make sure that the can is BPA free. I was a little surprised to learn from the Trader Joe's website that their canned goods are not BPA free. So if you do run into that like I did, just make sure you give it a good rinse. After a few minutes, the oil for the beans should be nice and ready. Go ahead and throw the beans right in there. You could also throw a little cilantro in if you'd like. My wife doesn't like spicy, so I didn't go for it. But just make sure you get everything in there. And then, of course, use a slotted spoon rather, to go ahead and just stir that up really nice, just so everything gets incorporated and you get all those flavors involved there. And I can tell you, it smells great. Just the aromatics of the onion and the garlic. The whole house smelled great. Smelling good. The chicken smells awesome right now. You could see it just through my glass lid there. And I figured I got some more time. Let me go ahead and start a salsa, because I forgot to buy one at the store. So I just threw in some frozen peppers, tomato, another quarter of that onion, and I threw in a little bit of salt and pepper, and I just blended it up. I didn't have any lime juice, so I used lemon juice, which I did regret not having the lime. The lemon was fine, but it just didn't have that same kick in my opinion. So I went back over to our beans, and you can see they're a great simmer right now. They're done. It looks awesome so far. Again, I thought I did a little bit too much oil, but that's me. So I just moved it off the heat for now. We're going to come back to that. I did throw a little bit of lemon juice in there. Again, I regret not having lime juice handy, but it worked. Our chicken is finally ready. Again, it smells great. It looks good too. I did about a pound of chicken, and that worked for 2 people, 2 adults. If you have a bigger family or bigger appetites, I suppose you could use more, but this worked for our purposes. So then I just took that slotted spoon again and just started taking that out of the water, making sure I got all the pieces of chicken. I didn't want to give any of that up. And transferring it over to a plate that you'll see just in a few moments, so that we can prepare that to shred it up really, really nice. And again, if you want to, I guess you could use a rotisserie chicken or pre-prepared chicken. I didn't want to, and so I said this wasn't a problem. It worked out pretty well, actually. Once it's all shredded up, it should look something like that. So then you're going to take all of that shredded chicken that you just did, and you shred it using 2 forks. I couldn't record and shred it, so you have to use your imagination there. And just spread it all around just to make sure that you're going to get equal coverage. The next thing I did is I took my salsa right from the blender and just poured it right on, making sure I got out as much as possible. You can use a spoon, of course, to scoop it out if you'd like, but I think I did a pretty good job getting it. I should add is that after I stopped recording the salsa, I did add more tomato just to make it a little bit more substantial. That's why it looks a little bit thicker. Next, I just went in with a little bit of ground cumin, spread it all around. I then just took the onion from the cutting board and just put it right in. I think that's about half of an onion, so it was one whole onion I used between the beans, the chicken, the salsa, and now just our little mixture at the end. Then I just went in with our beans and all that mixture right from the stove. You can see the oil there too. Just poured that right on top. It's starting to really come together here now. I then went in with some shredded sharp cheddar cheese and just kind of put it right in there. But used about half a bag. I know that some recipes call for multiple cheeses and for sour cream. We wanted to really kind of stay away from that, so I just used one cheese. If you'd like more, of course, you can certainly add it for your recipe, but this is just what I did for ours. So now I just took a slotted spoon and just started incorporating and really mixing everything together. I was trying to get everything covered as well as I could. That's why I was going a little bit slowly. Again, I've got in here the cheese, the chicken, the beans, the onions, everything. I didn't add any kind of taco seasoning just because I was trying to keep it a little bit more mild. My wife prefers a little bit mild, but you can certainly add that if you'd like. This is just what I did for our mixture. Now, one thing that's key is that we want to keep this mixture moist and not let it dry out in the oven. So you add a little bit of chicken stock, and then once that's in there, just go back in with your spoon and mix everything up. Make sure it gets evenly distributed. Okay, you've made it to the halfway point, or approximately the halfway point in the video. Congratulations. If you're still here, let me know by saying hashtag not Deathstroke in the comments. Just go ahead and type that comment. Again, that's hashtag not Deathstroke. And what I'll do is in our next video, I'm going to go ahead and anybody who leaves that hashtag, I'll give you a special shout out. So especially if you have your own YouTube channel or whatnot, go ahead and list it there. Or if not, your Instagram, or if you just want to say, hey, say hello to me, that's perfectly fine. Again, hashtag not Deathstroke. We're going to get our tortillas ready. We use the Siete tortillas. I got them on sale at Costco last month. They come 22 a pack, and they're very, very clean and delicious. They use almond flour, no cruddy ingredients. Even if you're not using Siete, it should be important that you check the label and make sure the ingredients that you're using are clean and that they're good for you, or as good as could be. Tortillas and throw it on a hot pan, 10 seconds for each side. That's so that the tortilla is nice and pliable so that when we go to wrap it and fold it, it doesn't fall apart on us. Then take your warm tortilla and throw it on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. You can also use a slip mat if you have one. Take your mixture and just put it in the center of the tortilla. Make sure that you don't put in too much. You want to leave a good edge around that so that when you go to fold it, it doesn't break the tortilla. I should say if you do wind up tearing a tortilla, don't fret. You've got 20 of them if you get this pack, so you have a lot to work with, and I'll show you how I kind of recovered from that. I think I did in a pretty creative way. I unfortunately could not record myself actually folding the tortillas, but look it up. It's actually pretty easy to do. After you do about 2 of them, you pretty much get the hang of it. In Warner's recipe, which is the basis for this video, he recommended using a flour-egg mixture to seal up the tortilla. I didn't do that. I just kind of folded it, and then I put a little bit of melted butter on the top of them just to give it a nice crisp, and it worked out well for me. So whatever works for you, go ahead and do it. Like I said, I had a flash of inspiration as to what to do with the leftovers. I just grabbed the stuff I had just put in the fridge because I love doing dishes, and threw some taco seasoning in it. Then mixed it around, making sure that everything was distributed evenly. Next, I took that leftover mixture with the taco seasoning in it and threw it on that same hot pan I had done the tortillas in, letting it heat up enough just to get that cheese melted. It's not quite there yet, but you get the idea. While that was going, I went ahead and took a plate of tortilla chips. These are Siete tortilla chips. Again, I'm not sponsored, But if the nice people at CA want to throw me some money, that's perfectly fine. I'll take that. I took some of the mixture and put it right on a layer of the tortilla. You'll see how I layered it in a few moments. I took some enchilada sauce, also from Siete, again, still not sponsored, and just drizzled that on the next layer. And I kept piling chips on top of our mixture, on top of chips. I know that if you go to a restaurant, they give you tortillas with a bunch of different cheeses. Again, I just had the one cheese, and I think it worked out well. And the red enchilada sauce really gave it a nice kick. For about 20-25 minutes at 400 degrees, our chicken chimichangas are ready, and they look delicious. And now it's time to finally plate them. I went back to my red enchilada sauce from Siete, still not sponsored, and started putting the individual chimichangas on a plate and then lightly drizzling them with that delicious sauce. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it. It gave a nice kind of smoky flavor, and it was a perfect texture as well. This one, you could see it, maybe I didn't spread it as nicely. The first one is always mine because I've used that as the one that I guess, for lack of a better word, I mess up on. But now if we go to the second one, which I think looks a lot better, that's the one I always give to my beautiful wife here. And you can see that's more professionally done, I guess. I've arranged them nicely on a plate. And again, no, I'm not a chef. I'm just a guy that likes to cook for his family. This is a better look of what the finished product looked like. And now let's see how my beautiful bride enjoyed it. So you're off camera, honey, now. What is your first taste?
Very delicious.
What do you like about it?
I like the fact that it's crispy, it's tasty, it's different, and the spices in it makes it more rich.
You like the spices. You usually don't like spice.
Yeah, but this actually is very delicious with the spices in it.
How'd you like the nachos?
Very good.
See, I think it could have used a little bit more lime juice, maybe. I didn't have any.
I thought it was good the way it is.
You're welcome, honey. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. As you can see, my wife loved the recipe. It was a resounding success. So much so that I might try to do a little variation on it this upcoming weekend with ground beef. I'll let you know. You could always check out my social media if you want to see how it turns out. I have all that information, of course, at the end of each video, including this one. And by the way, if you try to make this video, I'm interested in seeing how you do. Leave a comment and let me know. Also, a little bit of business, of course. This past week, we finally hit 100 subscribers. I am going to be having a special giveaway. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait about a week or two just to make sure the number stays up there. So far, so good. And then just make sure that you come back here. If you're not subscribed, you should do that so that you don't miss anything, and hit that notifications if you are, because I will announce that contest, and we'll have I think it's a pretty unique giveaway if we could pull it off. Well, there you have it. Thanks again for watching this video. I appreciate your time, of course, and your attention. And I hope that you have a great day, a great evening, a great week, weekend, whenever and wherever you're watching this. Thanks again for watching. Peace, love, and comics. Take care.